I always use the analogy of having a bucket which is leaking. Okay, and you're fetching water into that bucket. No matter how much you fetch water into the bucket, it runs out. So we had to then seal the holes in the bucket. And the holes that we sealed was what brought inflation to sustainable and manageable levels. And the interesting thing is that governments all over the years have tried to achieve single-digit inflation consistently. They've never been able to achieve it. This is the first government in the history of this country that has achieved single-digit inflation consistently for almost 1 year. So we are not talking about having inflation going down in a month, going back. Consistently, the average for last year was about 8.5%. That is unprecedented. And then you talk about the rate of economic growth, 14% is unprecedented. And indeed, you have, it's not just us talking about it. You have the international agencies, you know, you have the Economist magazine, the Economist Intelligence doing the analysis, and then they determine that Ghana is one of the best performing economies in the world. I mean, these are things that you cannot run away from. So if you look at the mess that we inherited, that inflation was at an all-time low, high, and indeed when inflation is high, what it means is that it scares away investors. It scares away people from investing even locally, because business people cannot plan, they cannot project, and it throws all their analysis out of gear. So if you have such a situation, it's an unstable environment for business. Today, we are told that GIPC has recorded about $7 billion of investment coming into the country. Those investments that are coming, they have a gestation period. You know, when people are talking about they are not seeing jobs in their pockets and all that, you see, it's a process. I use the leaking bucket as an example. First of all, you need to stop the leakage, which we've been able to stop. After you stop the leakage, then you begin to fill the buckets. Now, when the buckets get full, then people can come and fetch from that bucket or that barrel. So now that we've been able to bring inflation under control, and then investors are coming in, the macroeconomic environment is stable. As the investors come in and they invest, let's say somebody is coming to build a factory. It doesn't take a day or a year, okay? So within a year, 1.5 years, 2 years, the factory is up and running. People are going to be employed. Okay, people are going to supply goods and services to that factory. So the impact, you know, the ripple effect will be felt all over the country. So it's a process. And indeed,
oftentimes our critics from the opposition party, they say that these are figures. It doesn't reflect in the pockets of the people. People are crying for food. They are crying for water. And we're saying that economic growth is 14%. Inflation has been reduced to 8.7, 8.8%, and all that. So how do we convince our people out there that indeed these are not just mere figures, but it reflects in their pockets? How do they understand that these figures do not stand in isolation, but it reflects in their daily lives?
Okay. First of all, I'll answer it in 3 ways. First of all, it means that the situation would have been worse than it is now.
Okay.
If we had continued on that path, where inflation was rising and rising and rising, it means that the current value of money that they had, they will not purchase the current value of goods that they had, that they can purchase now. So it means that we would have been in a worse situation. So that's the first point. The second point is that, you see, when the entire economic situation is in a mess like that, investors, as I said, will not come in, money will not come in, industries will close. So again, unemployment would triple, quadruple. It would be worse from that perspective.
Because there will be no jobs for the people to do.
Many factories will close down, investors will not come in. So the situation, which is not yet perfect, would have been worse, would have been like Greece. Okay. Now, more seriously, what other way can we measure economic growth? We go to school, people go to Harvard, go to Oxford, go to Eton, Princeton, University of Ghana, and go and study economics. They have their masters, they have their PhDs, they are professors in economics. Why is it that econometrics is an important subject? Why is it that people spend all their life studying economics? There are indicators. We are not living in cuckoo land. We are living in a global world. In the global world, whether it is Ghana or Nigeria or the USA, every part of the world, there are indicators of measuring economic growth. We didn't invent it. Okay, these are general laws, economic indices that are there for everybody. So how else can you measure it? Those are the internationally accepted norms of measuring economic growth.
Okay.
And the internationally accepted norms of measuring economic growth are indicating that, yes, indeed, our economy is growing and performing. They should bring us another formula. What kind of formula? And when they were in power, were they not quoting inflation?
Yeah,
why were they chasing single-digit inflation for 8 years? Yeah. And they couldn't manage it for even 3 months sustainable? They were chasing it at that time. At that time, they were saying that single-digit inflation is good. Today that we have achieved it, it is not good. So we've got to be real. Okay. Otherwise, then all those people who have PhDs in economics, they should go and throw their degrees away.
Okay.
They should go and throw their degrees away.
And again, His Excellency the President mentioned that when we came to power, he came to meet a wage bill of 2.5 billion.
Exactly.
But today, as we speak, it is increased to about 5 billion.
That again is unprecedented in the history of this country. We are talking about within the context of this very difficult circumstances, where we met a leaking economy, high inflation, high budget deficit. We also had to look at the wage bill, which has doubled.
Yeah.
You know, the wage bill was 2.4 billion. Yeah. Today is about 5 billion plus. Yeah. 100% increment. So it means that workers of today are any more. Are you telling me that the policemen and the soldiers and the teachers and all other people who have got an increment in their salary is not a better living
In fact,
condition?
I have a friend who is a teacher trainee, and he tells me that, in fact, his monthly allowance has shot up from about some 70 cedis to about something, you know. Yes. And they are extremely excited about what is happening in the country today.
The policeman in front of my house, he tells me that, look, I mean, this single spine thing is fantastic. He's going to get married, you know, very soon. So it is. I mean, we're not saying, and I think we should not be misunderstood.
Exactly.
That we have solved all the problems in this
not
country. We're not saying that everything is fine. But we're saying that if you look at the context, if you look at what we came to inherit, if you look at the resources that were available, if you look at the debts that we came to inherit, okay, the oil sector, there was a huge backlog, debts that we need to clear. Teachers had not been paid, you know, newly nurses had not been paid. There were so many debts. Ghana Commercial Bank, and we've been able to clean up all this mess. And then upon all that, the wage bill has increased by 100%. And yet, in spite of that, there's so much discipline that fiscal discipline, that we're still having single-digit inflation consistently. You know, that for me, it's an achievement that you just can't just, you know, downplay.
Honorable, when we came to power, His Excellency President Mills promised that he was going to do more to invest in people. And he also promised that he was going to invest into education, expand facilities, infrastructure, give incentives to both the schools, teachers, and parents to enable us to send more of our wards, our brothers and our siblings to school. How have we fared over the past 3 years as regards the promise we made to the people of Ghana, upon which the NDC was given a mandate?
Well, for those of us who travel the length and breadth of this country, you go around communities and you see pupils studying under deplorable conditions. When it rains or when there's a windstorm, they have to abandon classes. And so the government, when it took over, committed itself to dealing with this problem. And within this short period of time, over 1,700 of these schools under trees have either been totally completed or are almost at the stage of completion. The Ministry of Local Government, we are compiling the data, and you'll be amazed at what we've done in the educational sector. As you drive across the length and breadth of this country, there is almost every community you see a new school block going up, you know, from kindergarten, primary, JSS upwards. It's all over the place, and the evidence is there for all to see. And that is why the president said that if those who are not seeing the Better Ghana agenda, then there must be something wrong with them. Because it's there. As you travel the length and breadth of this country, I did a tour of the 3 northern regions recently, all the way from Tamale through Damonko to Awa, and then came all the way down to Kintampo. And you'll be amazed at the infrastructure, the level of infrastructure that is going on. Apart from that, there's this outfit headed by Mr. Kofi Ato, what do they call them? And they're doing such a great job. They are not talking. It will interest you to know that all the training colleges in this country, they've all been fixed with ICT facilities, ICT labs. All of them in this country. Because the idea is that if you're going to teach people ICT, then those who are going to train them should have access, should be equipped. So they have been given ICT labs, state of the art, with all the accessories and everything. And the second phase is that they are going to be connected to the internet. And so virtual learning will be part of it. The same thing is happening with the nurses training colleges as well. They are all being linked. And then at local government, we have what we call the community development schools. All of them. Very recently, they gave all of them equipment, ICT equipment, where they're going to have labs in all the schools. Apart from that, there are community information centers across the country. So education from the basic level to the secondary level to the tertiary level. And he talked about, you know, the two universities that
Volta and then
Brong-Ahafo. People, the Dalton Thomases, nothing is happening. The bill has been passed. Work is actually going on at the various sites.
I've been to the Volta region a couple of
for
times,
people
and
to
I'm
see.
impressed.
You know? So we are keeping our promises. The work is going on, and I'm sure that by early next year or so, somewhere this year, admissions will start. So indeed, in terms of education, when you go around second cycle schools, you're talking about almost 700 emergency classrooms. And I've gone around and commissioned them. Those Dalton Thomases, please come along with us. We'll pay your fare.
We'll go down to the ground and see for yourself.
And see for yourself and see how people are so excited that communities that they do not have even one proper infrastructure today, they have modern story buildings in their second cycle schools. They have modern facilities. Most of them are equipped with washrooms, modern washrooms, toilet and bath.
I saw one of such at, is it Joaso? Exactly. One of the communities in the Ashanti region.
Joaso is a big town. We're talking about, you know, places like Dodipapase.
I've been to Dodipapase too.
Jinjini and all those places. That there are modern schools with WC, you know, you flash, and bathrooms with tiles.
Even, of course, at Sokode, when you're going to Ho, there's a huge facility that is coming up there, and it's really, really impressive.
You know, everywhere. Recently in Wa, both the secondary school and the technical school, you see massive new structures, and the schools too are being walled. What I've noticed is that most of the schools, because of encroachment, people are eating into their land. So as part of this program, most of the schools are now walling their properties. It also ensures discipline so that you can contain the students in the schools.
The president says that so far about 3 million school uniforms have been given out to needy students, in addition to over 41 million pieces of exercise books.
You know, and people say, oh, well, you know, but if you know the psychology, what it means to go to school without a proper uniform. Those of us who started school in the villages, you know,
you have to tie a cloth around
when
your
you are a kid, you can be very callous. You laugh at those kids. Their clothes are torn. They are going. You'll be pulling the clothes. You know, psychologically, it even affects the children at that tender age. We're trying to deal with that. We begin the process of equalization from the beginning, because if they are affected psychologically at that stage, it affects their future development. So you give everybody a decent school uniform so that they have the confidence that they can go to school and be as equal as their other colleagues. 3 million free is gone. Exercise books, each pupil is getting 8 exercise books. I can tell you that some families cannot afford 1 exercise book. So the pupils are getting free school uniforms. 8 new exercise books per year. This includes the ones for writing and everything, so that they can improve on their writing skills. All these things are happening. The school feeding program, we have retargeted it, we have expanded it and retargeted that by the middle of this year, we'll be feeding about 1.5 million pupils. That is from the 750 that we took over. So within 3-4 years, we've doubled the number of retargeted, focusing more on the poor and vulnerable areas of our society. Apart from that, we're talking about over 60,000 laptops that are being distributed, so that we're looking at an ICT world. You know, the ICT is a thing of today. And so we're giving out these laptops so that people will become conversant with ICT. So there's so much that is happening in the educational sector, apprenticeship programs all over. I haven't even begun to talk about LESDEP and all those things. Those are just for
people who do not even go through formal education. They're given some training and skills so that they can on their own.
You can see the excitement all over the place, that people now have hope for me, the thing about less debt that it gives hope that nobody is hopeless. Yeah. Whether it is dressmaking, it is dressmaking, it is even mobile shops, barbering, photography, mobile phone repairs, laptop repair. Basic, with a little training, you're given the equipment and very flexible terms of payment. You can start a business of your own, and that builds confidence. And I am cocksure that in the next 3, 4, 5 years, some of those people will develop and become mega businessmen. They'll create jobs, they'll create employment, and that is how countries are developed. Singapore, Malaysia, all those countries that we all look up to, that is how they started. They supported micro and small enterprises. They created the conducive environment for them to operate, and out of that, people grew and became mega entrepreneurs, and they employed people, and the economy expanded and grew. So we are on course.
Okay, that's good. Honorable Deputy Minister, His Excellency the President, whilst addressing the UN General Assembly, indicated that he is committed to free, fair elections, and that he's going to provide all the security that is needed to ensure that elections are free and fair. He repeated the same promise on several platforms, and he repeated that same promise today, that the security agents are going to be equipped, they're going to be ready to move us into an election, a violence-free and a violence-free election 2012. He also ropes in the issue about recruitment vis-a-vis the re-equipping of the military, the Ghana Armed Forces, together with the other agencies to support a well-secured environment that we are in Ghana. Well, what is your assessment and analysis on
Well, first of all, I think that one of the positive attributes of this country is the peace and stability that we have enjoyed over the years.
Exactly so.
And one of the positive personal attributes of His Excellency President John Evans Atta Mills is that he's a man of peace.
Exactly so.
So you're talking about a man of peace leading a peaceful country. And consistently, as you said, on every platform, from the time he was in opposition till he became president, consistently, no matter how much he's provoked, no matter the circumstances, he always preaches peace. That is his nature. That is his character. He doesn't fake it. He is a man of peace. That's why Ghanaians call him the Asumdwehene. Exactly. And therefore, you see that when he's talking about peace, he talks about it passionately, because we know that peace is a prerequisite underpinning for any national development effort. So it's within that context that all these efforts are being made. That you see that a lot of equipment has been provided for the police on a regular basis, almost like every quarter. When you drive through Parliament House, you see scores of vehicles parked there. Yeah. One time it is the police who are coming to take the vehicles away. Another time it is the military. Another time it is fire service. 152 brand new fire tenders. Now those fire tenders, I can tell you that they are up to any standard in the world. If you go to New York, you go to London, some of the fire tenders that we've brought into the country are even better than what they have there. Modern, state-of-the-art fire tenders. These are all examples of a commitment to having a secure environment. Yeah. The police, yes, they may have some challenges, but you can see a massive improvement. Yeah. When you go around town, those of us who work late and drive around late, there's a certain sense of comfort. Exactly. Because as you drive every few kilometers, you see a police barrier, they stop you, they check you. And that alone gives you a sense of security, that in the unlikely event that there's anything happening, the police, you can fall on them. So that has improved. You see police, military patrols going on, and indeed it has brought a reduction in the spate of crime. And you see that they've been equipped. Even those who are doing traffic controls and all that, you see that they have modern equipment that they can communicate with. So all these things helps in both internal security and also giving those who are coming into this country as investors or tourists a sense of security and comfort. Recently, I was in the Gambia, and they were telling me that their country was very peaceful, but the guy who has come to Ghana told them that Ghana was probably more peaceful than Gambia, and that there's so much peace. You can walk around at any time of the night and nobody will attack you. So that is something that we need to protect, and that is why the president is investing in the security service. services. And you talked about the elections. We've had some challenges in the past, but I'm very confident that under the leadership of His Excellency the President, we're going to have a peaceful, free, and fair elections. Nobody's going to die any foolish death.
Not at all.
No die, we die. Some death is foolish death. And we don't. Why should anybody die because of an election? When people die, and then after election, what happens? What are you going to rule? Ghost? So for those kinds of things should not be countenanced. We would have a peaceful elections. People will go and vote according to their choice, and at the end of the day, the victorious person will be crowned. And we are very confident that based on the performance of His Excellency the President, which has been manifested even today in his delivery, we'll be given a second term. So we are not worried about all those diversionary issues. Again, it's important when we're talking about security that the President has shown that he's been able to deal, or he's beginning to deal with one of the major fundamental issues that threaten a nation's security. That is the issue of narcotics.
Exactly.
You know, because there's a link between narcotics, violent crime, and prostitution, money laundering, and gun running. There's a link. They are all linked. Once you have narcotics or a drug web, drug barons, you know, having a cartel and operating within a country, then they have to launder money. Then they get into violence crime. Then they use the money to purchase arms. So you have smuggling of weapons and all that, and prostitution. And so it's a whole ring. So by beginning to go to the bottom and deal with the issue of narcotics, you realize that we are getting to the bottom of crime, because the narcotics is like the capo di tutti of the crimes. You know, they glorify themselves, they wear nice suits, they drive big cars, they live in fine houses, but they are all criminals. They are simple criminals and thieves. So by beginning to crack the narcotic ring, we were in this country where 77 parcels of cocaine got missing. You know what 77 parcels of cocaine is?
The MPP is always uncomfortable when you veer into the areas of narcotics.
Then they better go and take cover. 77 parcels of cocaine is like a pickup full of cement bags. And it got vanished from the police headquarters. Can you believe that? 77 parcels of a pickup full of cocaine, and police headquarters, nowhere else, whether they carried it or it flew in the air, nobody knows, and it vanished. A ship was coming into this country. International agencies alerted us that there was a ship full of cocaine. It got into this country. The Navy could not move. The Air Force could not fly. Somehow it vanished into thin air. All these things happen under a government, and they have the nerve and the courage to say that they want to come back again and turn this country a narco coast. It's not going to happen. It will not happen. There's no way that we are going to allow that to happen, that this country will be turned. They are in a hurry, they are in an indecent haste to come back, to turn this country into a narco coast. They will open the floodgates. Now it will not be ships again, it will be submarines. No way. It will not happen.
Dangerous.
It's not happening. So the security is going to the bottom of these things and dealing with them. Now there's no space, no room for maneuver. Recently you realize that somebody was busted.
Yeah, the limping man.
Oh, that's just a beginning. Another person was busted. He's been sent back to Gambia.
I read the story.
Many things are going to happen because we need to get to the bottom of it. You know, there is no way that those things would have happened without complicity at the highest levels. It's not possible.
Not at all.
That somehow, it's just like when the Yana was murdered, they said the armor car, somehow the battery ran down. Strangely enough, electricity supply was cut off. So in this same vein too, the ship or whatever it is, was it the battery or so, or they said there was no rations. The Air Force plane could not fly. I mean, what kind of funny story is this? So those are things that we're going to do. We will break that ring, that mafia. We will not allow. And when Akresi Sapon said that we will not allow any drug baron, drug money to be used for the election, he knew what he was talking about.
And the NPP was also uncomfortable. They even went ahead to call for the man to be sacked.
Why should he be sacked? Why
for him to resign?
If you mention old bones, then the old ladies begin to what? Shake if you talk about bones. You know, so it's up to them. We haven't mentioned their name. We are talking about drug barons. We are talking about cocaine. You know, as somebody said, it was that time. It was a chopocratic cocainocracy. We are not going to allow this country to. My brother, if you've seen people who have been hooked on cocaine, right? When that stuff gets into your system, it's almost impossible. You can recover from cigarette smoke, you can recover from alcohol, you can recover from even mental, whatever, derangement. But that substance, when it gets into you, 1 out of 100, it just finishes you. It becomes so we will not allow this country to become a cocaine coast with cocaine here, cocaine there, cocaine everywhere. So the security forces are being empowered. And we're creating an atmosphere where everybody knows that if you engage in this kind of thing and you are caught, you'll be dealt with ruthlessly and drastically.
The president said he also believed in engagement of our neighbors in what he termed as a silent diplomacy. Exactly. That he go behind the scene, and he made mention of scenarios, especially during the Cote d'Ivoire crisis, and then now the negotiations for the extension of the continental shelf of Ghana beyond the 200 nautical miles that is acceptable. Mm-hmm. Many are those, especially from the MPP in the days. We've heard even their flag bearer, Akufo-Addo, says that the president must move into Cote d'Ivoire and show teeth there. And the president told them that no way, he doesn't believe in that, and that negotiations always carries the day. Today is the president vindicated.
Absolutely, absolutely. In the heady days of the Ivorian crisis, you saw people calling for war. Ghana should mass up troops, send troops in there. Now, if you have such people and you give power to them, you can imagine the kind of mess they'll put us in. Being a president or a leader of a country, you need a cool head. And you see, that is what people should understand and appreciate out of the president. The president is not slow. Okay? The president is calculated. There's a difference.
Okay, he's meticulous.
Meticulous. Yeah. He takes his time. He likes to gather all the facts, do the analysis before he acts. Okay? He just doesn't act on impulse or rational. Okay, let's do this then. No. He's very strategic and meticulous. He takes his time, he analyzes the issues, he listens to all points of view, then he takes a decision. And when he takes a decision, he sticks to it. That is the kind of leader that we need, not a rash person, brash person. Imagine if we had taken sides in the Cote d'Ivoire conflict. Can you imagine where would have been today? And then they will be laying claim to part of our continental shelf. But that diplomacy, and you see, diplomacy, what happens behind the scenes is more important than what happens outwardly. And let me tell you that today, now you tell me within this sub-region, and I'm not going to mention any names so that I'll be misunderstood, but look at our all the various countries around us. Yeah. All the countries, they all have leaders. Yeah. But which one of them exudes confidence? Which one of them do you think that the international community believes in and has confidence in?
In fact, even tying that to the argument of what you mentioned earlier about the East African magazine grading President Mills, giving President Mills an A, it falls within the same argument. Exactly. Where you have the president of Cape Verde, the president of Mauritius, and then the president of Botswana, including President Mills, who were the only African leaders on the entire continent who made it to that grade with very, very impressive scorecards on democracy, free press, freedoms, human rights, and all this core. Yeah, but Akufo-Addo was heard in Texas recently saying that Ghana is in a state of leadership paralysis, whilst the facts on the ground with the information that we are putting out to the people of Ghana says otherwise.
You see, as for Akufo-Addo, you see, the man, 1 minute he says, yeah, all die be die. The next minute, yeah, I can afford it. The next minute, me the baby can cry, trauma. The next minute is Teresa Bottoms. The next time he's tickling somebody. So you see, this is a man who is in a mess. Okay, he's ruined by sex, issues about his sexual life, issues about drugs, which he's not been able to extricate himself from, and issues about violence. So if you look at Akufo-Addo, it's about sex, immorality, drugs, and what? Violence. These three. Now, you tell me that if you have somebody whose personality is defined in this way, and then they are talking about Prof, somebody who consistently has shown integrity, consistently has shown his commitment and his passion for doing things properly, even at the point where his own party people, sometimes, majority of the problems we have in the party today is because of the president's style. That, look, I am not going to do things in a populist manner. I am not going to do things in the way that MPP used to do. And let me give you one example where he's been vindicated. When we commissioned the George Bush Highway, you understand me? If we had gone on the path that MPP went, when they took office, where they were sacking people left, right, center. Perhaps Martinez and Benjamin would not have been sitting there.
Exactly so.
You understand me? NPP came with a certain attitude that anybody who worked with the NDC who must claim, proceed on leave. NDC came and said, look, even NPP DCs stay in office for a period and hold the fort till we are ready. Okay? Of course, some people have taken advantage. There are some people in the system who will not respond positively to this magnanimity and are playing all kinds of things. They will be exposed at the right time. But overall, the president has shown that he looks beyond mere parochial interest. He looks at the national interest. He's a nationalist. He's somebody who looks at a greater, good of the country rather than just party interest. Of course, when he has to crack the whip, he will crack the whip. So you cannot compare the two, the Akufo-Addo